Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How in the world are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation. We are at it again, baby. That's right, we are here once again, recording another great episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Coming at you live, not at the Asian Sensation Studios, but we are in a prototype studio that's located in Wheaton, Maryland. So depending on where in Wheaton you are, for those that know the area, it is about like maybe 15 minutes to 20 minutes away outside of Washington, D.C. So still in the metropolitan area, but just not in the heart and soul of Washington, D.C. So I was invited to come over to the prototype studio, hang out, and, just kind of break it in and see what it's all about. And it's great because when I got here, I had everything that I needed. There was a fresh pot of coffee, which, I was really surprised. I was like, man, this place is really, sparing no expense. They got the Starbucks coffee in the Black & Decker coffee pot, and, they just said, help yourself. And I was like, holy crap, we're in the big time, man. We're in the big time. And, we're actually using a brand new microphone that they have asked us to test out and see what's going on, and we're really happy about that. We're doing it up. We are actually experimenting with a Shure SM58 microphone. Now, for those that don't really know much about these microphones, it's not really a studio microphone per se. So it is like a handheld microphone that you hold on. A lot of people from bands, vocalists and so forth use these type of microphones, so it's really, really cool. And although it is not my Shure MV7 that I usually use in the house of the Asian Sensation Studios, I figured, hey, if it's in the Shure family, I pretty much can guarantee that when I use the microphone, it's going to give the same type of quality, at least in my opinion. So, in that case, I don't feel really bad. It's cool. And I definitely think that the prototype studio is definitely makes anybody who at least is from the Maryland state feel at home. I'm literally just recording right now. There is a state flag of the Maryland state, and it's giving me a lot of pride, man. It's just like, yo, this is it. This is awesome. So I'm doing pretty good. Obviously, today, Hector is not here with us today. Hector is actually on vacation. He's on vacation. And I got to say this, dude, live it up. Go ahead and go on vacation. It's awesome. I'm really glad that you're taking the time to, recharge your batteries and so forth. I wish I could, but I think with me and my work ethic, I don't know that level yet. So hopefully one day I will, but not today. So obviously, if you're listening to us right now, we, at least at this moment that the episode's being recorded, we are in mid-August. So by now, the Olympics are over. So I want to give a quick shout out to, number one, I want to give a quick shout out to all the athletes that represented the United States of America for doing a good job, especially those that definitely, did their best, and those that actually medaled, whether you got a bronze, silver, or the gold. We just want to say that we're very proud of you and your efforts to show what American athletes are all about. And I also just want to say congratulations to everybody, to every country, every athlete of every nation who did their best and who also medaled as well. I mean, I know to reach that upper echelon of excellence, of physical excellence, to go ahead and represent your country and just compete for, you know, in the name of athletics. You know, it's a hard feat. You know, I didn't reach the Olympics, so I have nothing to really say. The only thing I can say is, you know, job well done. Job well done. Well, we're going to go ahead and record a real cool episode here. Lots of things to talk about. This episode in general is going to be a fun one for me personally because two subject matters that we're going to talk about. Two of them are definitely in my wheelhouse. You know, the first segment, we're going to definitely talk about some podcasting, and I'll get into that a little bit because I'm going to open it up with that. But the second segment is going to be all about martial arts. And again, that's another thing that's in my wheelhouse, being, you know, a long time martial artist, third degree black belt in Taekwondo and the Muay Thai style. You know, I feel at home with this episode, and I'm just hoping that with these episodes, it will connect with many people out there in the audience to some degree in some fashion. Whether if you're a podcaster or if you're a martial artist or you're just a person in general that, you know, can find, you know, some bit of information and apply it, you know, in their personal lives, hey, there you go. You know, that's what it is. So let's go ahead and cut to the skinny of it, ladies and gentlemen. We're here. We're doing it up. Prototype Studios and the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is in full effect. We got the green light. We're going to go ahead and, you know, punch it in fifth gear, and we're just going to take the straightaway. So let's open it up. And we want to talk about, you know, and this one's for the podcasters out there, about length of recording on a podcast, meaning, you know, how much time do you record on a podcast? Now, let me explain a little bit. Many podcasters out there that record podcasts, you know, let me just put it like this. You have many different varieties, right? Different varieties of podcasts out there for the audience to choose from and to listen to. You know, because there's a lot. You know, there's many podcasts that talk about sports. There's many podcasts that talk about movies and film. They talk about music. They talk about pop culture. You know, there's some that talk about cars and automobiles, gaming, you name it. There's a podcast for everything, right? Right. You know, especially things that I don't like to talk about, which is politics and religion. They got a podcast for that too. Now, here's the thing. All of these podcasts have something in common. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, what do these podcasts have in common? Because, you know, they're all different types of different podcasts and different types of like subject matters or so forth. And I get that, you know, it's categorized. But the commonality is that all of these podcasts, you know, basically the episodes that they create have a length of time to listen to, which means it took, you know, if it took basically like, you know, if it took 30 minutes of their time to actually record an episode, then those 30 minutes are the same amount of minutes that it took to get everything well in hand, at least in my opinion. So if I record an episode that's like, I talk for like 30 minutes, then it probably took about 30 minutes to get the whole thing done, at least from the vocal sense. I'm not talking about the editing and mastering and copying and pasting and all that stuff. That's more the technical aspect. I'm talking about when you actually speak in dialogue, when you're speaking, you know, verbally like how I am right now. Now, there are three types of methods to the time recording, and I broke it down into three different types of sections. First one is, you know, you have your short length, then you have your standard length, and then you have like the long length, meaning like, you know, different types of length of time for your episode. Now, let me break it down. The short length is basically 30 minutes or less. You might have an episode in a podcast where you listen to it and it's like 30 minutes or less. I have heard of episodes that last about 30 minutes, and that's totally cool. I even heard of, episodes that last about maybe 10 minutes or less, like 10 to about 8 minutes. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's, 9 or 8 minutes. That's pretty short. Yeah, that's short. But, I mean, they do it. And there you go. Then you have your standard length. And my definition of a standard length episode is like 30 minutes to about 90 minutes. That's kind of like the standard length of time to actually go ahead and record and to listen to, an episode. There's a lot of, they feel like that's the kind of standard length of time that you need in order to record and to listen to. And there are plenty of episodes and plenty of podcasts out there that do 30 minutes to 90 minutes and so forth. And then you have the long episodes that are 90 minutes and above. I mean, I've definitely have seen many a podcast that do last about, that hour and a half to like 2 hours, even 3 hours. Let me give you some examples. You know what I mean? A short length podcast that I've heard for myself personally, and I'm actually friends with these guys, is the Kaizen Karate Podcast. It is a podcast locally here in the Washington, D.C. area that's based out of here, hosted by Coach V and Coach David, which, I have nothing but love and respect for those guys. And I'll come back to them in a little bit, but normally when I listen to their podcasts and so forth, it can be as short as maybe 10 minutes, maybe, I do believe. And the most recent that I heard that, the longest length of episode that they record is about like maybe 30 minutes. Okay? So there you go. A standard length episode or podcast. There was one that I do listen to religiously, and since that time, they've actually been on a hiatus, so I don't really know what's going on. But they usually make the 30-minute to about the 90-minute mark. And that is from my favorite sister duo, the Hall sisters, Justina and Jessica Hall. They're based out of the Boston, Massachusetts area, and they have a podcast called Cheer Up, It Gets Worse. And they actually have a great dynamic. It usually goes about above 30 minutes. I would probably say maybe about an hour, maybe, give or take. Like sometimes it will be an hour, sometimes it'll be 45 minutes or 40 minutes, but it hits the standard length. And I like their stuff. It's great. It's really awesome. Long episodes, 90 minutes and above. I'm going to say it right now, the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan has been known to make episodes about 90 minutes. I have even seen and heard of episodes where it lasted 3 hours with that podcast. All of these podcasts I do like. All these podcasts I subscribe to and support. They are on all of the major platforms of podcasts, whether if it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I do believe Amazon Music and YouTube Music and so forth. So please go ahead and check them out. They're great podcasts and they're awesome. Now, I want to touch up a little bit, going back to what Kaizen Karate Podcast, I said I was going to go back to them. They had recently said on their episode, and it got me thinking, and it was on episode 154, titled Bring a Bucket of Water to the Fire. And Coach V actually said, and I quote, "We try to keep these episodes short so that, these aren't like these 2-hour episodes that you can never digest. And, it really got me thinking. And I'll say this respectively because, I love Coach V and I love Coach David and I love the Kaizen Karate podcast. I think that it's a great podcast. It has been said that Coach V and Coach David, they like to think that they're ambassadors of the martial arts, and rightfully so. I definitely agree with that. They are definite great ambassadors of the martial arts, and they do their civic duty to, help the students become great citizens of the world. Not only in the martial arts, but out of the martial arts. So I have nothing but a lot of love and respect for them. As far as the quote goes, I do agree with it in the sense that, keeping the episodes a little bit shorter than 2 hours sometimes can help out, because when you have an episode longer than, let's just say an hour, I think that a lot of people tend to kind of absorb things a bit better. But respectively speaking, I don't 100% agree with this statement. And I will say this, there are people that do listen to podcasts that are maybe about 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer, and they still are able to digest the information. They just kind of approach it in a different way, whether if it's about they listen to it and then they listen to it again and they listen to it again nonstop, and that's fine. Sometimes they, listen to the podcast and then they take a break, and when they come back, they go back to the part that they missed out on. So I would say that, it kind of works both ways. I think it just kind of varies per the individual. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to disqualify what Coach V said entirely. I would just say that I wouldn't agree with it 100%. Because let's say for me personally, I do listen to podcasts a lot. Sometimes it would be 2 hours. And, I do digest it. I do digest it very well, But then again, I'm just that one individual. So what works for me may not work well for others. Also, at the same time, it's one of those things where, you do what you can in terms of trying to, take in what the episode is trying to give to you. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. It really depends on the situation. And when you ask yourself the question, well, what is the proper amount of time that I can record an episode? And I think my honest answer is that really depends on, your situation. If you feel like you can give out all the information in a shorter amount of time, clear and concise to the point, then there you go. Maybe 30 minutes or less. That might be your jam. If you feel like you have a lot more to say and you want to talk a little bit about it and give your opinions and build facts upon facts and build opinions upon opinions, then that's cool too. I think that again, there is no right or wrong when it comes to this type of situation. You just kind of have to do what you feel, just like how I'm doing it right now. I'm recording, having a good time, and just doing what I do. And I feel like for each and every podcaster out there, that's their own creative style, their own way of doing it. And in this respect, I feel like there's no right or wrong with that. You just do what you want to do, and if that's the way that you do it, that's the way that you do it. And I think that in the end, we just respect and just appreciate all the energy that you put into it. You know what I mean? That's all there is. Wow. That's a handful that I just said. So yeah, that's what it is. So guys, this is what we're going to do. We are going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to go ahead and do our thing. We're trending really good right now in a good pace, and this is good. Like, I'm feeling great. I don't know if it's the coffee or not, but I do know that it definitely had a good caffeine kick. It's like a double roasted Columbia mix. And and I tell you, Starbucks, once again, they come up with some great stuff. So props to that, especially when the coffee is free. You know what I mean? When the coffee is free and you didn't pay for it, that's good coffee. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to take a moment. We are going to make sure that everything goes well and get ready for the next segment, which segues for you guys to go ahead and take a break and do your thing. So do what you need to do. Go to the restroom, get yourself a glass of water, or just get something to eat or whatever. But come right back, because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is coming at you live here on the Prototype Studios in Wheaton, Maryland. You don't want to miss it, ladies and gentlemen. We're having a good time here, and I hope that you guys are having a good time too. So do your thing. We're going to do our thing. We're going to come right back. Hope that you come back. And round 2 of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is coming. Stay tuned, guys, because there's still a lot of fight left in this match, and we got a lot of ground to cover. See you in a bit.
Ever wanted to make a podcast but didn't know how to do it or where to go? Does the idea of pursuing podcasting sounds great, but you're afraid of the expenses that you have to invest in? Then look no further than Spotify for Podcasters. They have the tools that you need to create the perfect podcast episode that you want, whether if you want to create it in an audio and or video podcasting form. To those that already podcast, Spotify for Podcasters can help you upload your already completed audio/video podcasts to all of the podcasting platforms that you have a membership to. And the best part is that this is 100% free. No hidden costs, no monthly fees, because you don't have to give them your credit card information, and because Spotify for Podcasters want to help by giving back to everybody. So check them out at podcasters.spotify.com and download their app for free on the Google Play Store and or the Apple App Store. Spotify for Podcasters.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are entering round number 2 here on the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. And, we definitely enjoyed our little break, or what we call the pause for the cause. So we're here, in the Prototype Studio, once again in Wheaton, Maryland, which is literally not that far away from Washington, D.C. So technically, this is still the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. But if you really wanted to be a little technical about it, then yeah, we're in Wheaton, Maryland, and that's cool. It's no worries. Two pieces of tidbits before we jump into it. Number one, we have to give a shout out to a person that's actually here in the Prototype Studio, the professor himself, Bob, who's been in the podcasting game and just in the game in general for quite a while. So we want to give a shout out to Bob, because Bob's a good guy. We love him. He's a great person, very nice. When we met him, just a class act, a guy that, just welcomed us and just said, hey, my home is your home. And wow, that was really, really cool. We definitely appreciate that love and support. And, all we have to say is Bob can break, rice with us any day of the week, so that's number one. Number two, what I didn't realize was over here at the Prototype Studio, right next door was is a martial arts school. And there were like a lot of, students, kind of doing their afternoon training, screaming and doing a lot of activities, training while listening to music. And it also moonlights as a CrossFitting gym during a certain point of the day. And, as a martial artist, I felt like it was important for me to go ahead and just pay a visit and show my respect and say, hey, it's really cool that you have a martial arts school here, that you're teaching, the next generation of, martial artists and black belts who, want to be where you're at. So we got to show a lot of love and appreciation, and we did, in the best way possible. So that being said, we are now going to segue into the second segment of our show, as we would say, the second segment. And we want to go ahead and talk about martial arts, and specifically, I should say, about what inspires you to train, and that's a very open-minded question for martial artists. It's like, what inspires you to train? What is your motivation? Well, let's start at the beginning, shall we? What inspires you to train when martial artists train in general, and they do it because it's for a reason or a purpose. Usually with the training, there is that special motivation that drives them. There's got to be like a certain reason, right? And that reason varies from, martial artist to martial artist. Well, recently, I asked that same question online to Century Martial Arts over in their school network area on social media. And some of the responses that I got were pretty rad and amazing. And I wanted to share that with everybody because this is something that I feel like it's important. Now, there were some, answers that I got, some replies that I feel like I should share it, and that wasn't as, in my opinion, let's just put it this way. You can tell the difference between a real good answer and a silly one. And now I understand that everybody's driven by a certain path, a certain way, and in general, I want to say that there are no right or wrong reasons of why a person is motivated to training. But when you listen to it and you kind of compare the apples to the oranges, you just kind of know. One instructor says that what motivates me is to build confidence. Now, by training in the martial arts, you know that you can handle anything that goes your way, because you're exposing yourself to the challenge and therefore performing at your best, which builds that confidence. And that's so true. When you have that confidence, that means that, hey, anything that happens can happen and you're well prepared for it. Whenever somebody asks you a question about a certain technique or form, or just they try to kind of probe the intellectual mind of how your martial art works, you already have an answer for it like that. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is easy. It's like Jeopardy or like some kind of trivia game. I got that. And the more times that you expose yourself, you build that confidence. It's like, second nature, if you will. And that's good. It's definitely good. Another instructor said that what motivates me in the martial arts, to train in the martial arts, is getting in better shape. And that's very valid because martial arts physically, it's a cardio exercise, all right, that develops flexibility, power, strength, coordination, and mentally it develops confidence, like we mentioned before, composure, and focus. When you actually do that, train in the martial arts on a frequent basis, you get, in better shape, not only physically, but mentally as well. Because it's true what they say that, the body cannot function without the mind. You take the brain out, you basically have nothing, right? So think of it this way, 1 + 1 = 2. One cannot coexist without the other. It's that important. It's like, peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? It's like, ketchup to French fries. That sort of thing. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Another thing that I talked to an instructor. They said that what inspires me, what motivates me to train, is learning. Because when I learn, I'm building and expanding knowledge on, what I know already and what I don't know. And I think it's very important that, when it comes to learning, I embrace that. My cup is not always filled. It's half filled. So there is a little bit more room to accept the knowledge. There's more room to accept, the water that you're transferring from your cup to my cup. And I think it's good because the more that we learn, the more open-minded we are as martial artists. And the more knowledge that we get in the martial arts, then we can kind of incorporate it in our own way. So I think that's definitely important, is that the more learning that we do, the better. Because, when you learn, you grow. And when you grow, you evolve. And when you evolve, for lack of a better term, you become, quote unquote, the man. So there it is. This one's a real good one. One martial arts instructor says that, what motivates me to train is my passion. Because when you have passion, you have a liking, a love for the martial arts. And it shows by, the dedication that you put into training in the martial arts. How much you train and how much quality you put in your training. Because if you train just to train, without quality, it's pretty much, it doesn't work. That's like saying that you're cooking just to cook, but if you don't cook with, passion, with emotion, with the right type of flavoring and so forth, and the right type of seasoning, and a little bit of this and the umami and so forth, then you have a dull dish. It's just food on a plate. It's not an actual course. It's not an actual art. It's just that. It's like almost saying you basically have one speck of black paint in a whole entire canvas, and you have just that. It's something, but it's not everything that you want. You know what I mean? Another type of reasoning of what inspires, or what motivates a martial artist to train, and this one came from an instructor that I know from the area, is basically their students are their motivation. And that's true because the students, they're the next generation. They're the next generation of black belts and so forth that are basically going to lead the way. And they're going to learn what you teach. And they're going to learn by how you teach them. You're their shining star. You're the primary example. And they will pass on your knowledge. Now, this is where it gets tricky. If you teach them, the right way, and you teach them with a lot of passion, a lot of confidence, and, correct technical ability, then chances are your knowledge is going to be passed on very successfully. But if you teach them lacklusterly, it's going to show. It's definitely going to show. And here's the final one that I thought that was beautiful. what motivates me to train in the martial arts is passing on the knowledge and the art. And that's so true, because if you are the headmaster or the grandmaster of that martial arts school, and you pass on, then traditionally that art, that you teach dies with you. Now, however, there are some that are determined by dedication and, they want to learn, what you're teaching for the sake of that art's preservation. And it's important because it's kind of like, passing it down from father to son, that sort of thing. So it's important to, pass it on from, master to student, and I think that's the way that it should be. There are many different great masters and grandmasters from years ago that are no longer with us, but their art lives on through their students, and their students have now become the teacher. It's very important. Now, there are some answers that I got, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I don't even know why I'm dignifying it, but we have to, just for comparison and contrast. You know what I mean? Example, one person, and I'm glad I'm not really mentioning names here, but this is kind of ridiculous. One person actually said, one instructor said, man, what motivates me to train in the martial arts is, quote unquote, so I won't get my ass kicked. And I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. You want to train so that you will know how to defend yourself. But, it's not just for that. But I do understand where you're coming from. Another instructor said, what motivates me to, train in the martial arts, is money. Now, I get that because martial arts is a business, and especially like if you're a martial artist that has a school, that's how you make your living. The more that you teach and the more students that you have enrolled in your school, obviously that's, the more capital that brings in. But it shouldn't just be money all the time, because if you're just about the money rather than teaching the art and teaching your students, you basically lost all, meaning with, why you're training and what you're doing it for and what you're fighting for. One person, this is going back to that first one. One person said, what motivates me to be in the martial arts and to keep training is for me to continue to kick ass. Meaning, kick somebody else's ass and, not get their ass kicked. Again, I understand that to some degree, but not, that's not what it's all about. Once again, it's, we're not in the business of fighting. Okay? We're not in the business of fighting. We're not here to pick fights. We're not here to, show superiority of, hey, what I learned and what my martial arts is way better than yours. No. Because number one, in the world of martial arts, we all know that there is room for all styles of martial arts. Obviously, there's going to be some that are going to be different than others by the nature of the art. And there's going to be some that are going to be different because although it's like the same art, like let's say Taekwondo, one Taekwondo school teaches one style versus the other school teaching another style. And no two styles are the same. And no two teachers are the same. So you kind of have to think there, like, there's something going on there. There's something going on there. But, I think that what the most important thing of just, training in the martial arts and what motivates you to train in the martial arts, and at least this is my opinion, is that you train in the martial arts to be a better person than you were previously. If you train every day and you become a little bit better than you were yesterday, then you're doing something right. And it doesn't have to be just the physical only. It can be the emotional. It could be the mental. It could be, the intellectual of maybe how you learn and how you teach. You know what I mean? That stuff to me is more important. It's more important than the money. It's more important than the fame. It's more important than trying to show your superiority. That's more important. If you are driven by the other things, you completely miss the point. And that shouldn't be the case. You know what I mean? But then again, once again, everybody's driven in their own path in their own way. And at the end of the day, you just kind of have to respect, what people do, But just remember, do the best that you can in staying motivated and in doing the best that you can so that you can preserve the art that you're training in right now, and you can pass it along to the next generation, having confidence knowing that when you pass on in life, that art is safe. And that art will continue on, and there will be a great legacy. And I hope that I get to do that, for the future students that I train with that want to be black belts and want to have some kind of a career in teaching the martial arts. We are in the business of the yes, we can, and never give up, rather than no, I can't, and it's too hard. Never that. Always the positive way, not the negative way. At least that's my opinion. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break. When we come back, the greatest moment of all episodes of the Kim Hoang podcast, the Kim Hoang podcast experience, and the greatest segment ever, the Q&A form, question and answer. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned, because we still have a lot of rounds to go in this fight, and it's just started. So stay with us, take a break, do your thing, come back, because there is going to be more on the way. Best believe. Yeah.
In life, we all want to have great health and excellent physical fitness. However, it's never given, only earned. That said, if you want to go to a gym that will help you to get there, then look no further than Kicked Up Fitness at National Business Parkway in Annapolis Junction, Maryland. Their mission at Kicked Up is to provide the ultimate functioning training facility that focuses solely on your success, with a diverse team that's highly qualified and dedicated to taking your fitness goals to the next level. Kicked Up also offers a variety of group classes and personal training programs that provide something for everyone, regardless of your fitness level. They believe in working hard, achieving results, all while having fun. So come visit their facility in person, which is located at 114 National Business Parkway, Suite 100 in Annapolis Junction, Maryland, 20701. Now, if you see my friend Sean Queen, who's the owner of Kicked Up, tell him that Benny Chow of Miscalculated sent you, and he'll hook you up with a complimentary 7-day pass just to try it out. Need more info? Give him a call. 410-888-9066. Email them at kufitnessnbp@gmail.com or visit them at their website at www.kufitnessnbp.com. Kicked Up Fitness. Never given, only earned.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
Yo, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I hope that you had enjoyed your intermission and break. We did, and it's great. real quick, because I actually got some notes to actually announce this, and it's very important that I announce this, that, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, you guys have a chance to help us out by sponsoring our podcast to improve the show's quality. With your help and your generous donation, the proceeds that you actually give to us, that you donate, will help us to get better equipment and the equipment that we need to actually make this quality happen, and for the better. We're trying to raise capital to get, equipment such as more microphones for in-person guests, the XLR cables that are required for those type of microphones, headphones for our guests to use, and et cetera, meaning we'll probably use more proceeds if we can get it to get computers for our studio, to make really good content, maybe a brand new Apple MacBook Pro or something like that, just so that we are technologically coherent and up to date. You know what I mean? Any amount of money that you want to donate will be appreciated. Now, here's the inside joke here. Whether if you want to donate $5 million, which, it would be appreciated, but, I doubt that anybody would drop that much to donate for a podcast. Or even is a little minimal, a $5. Feel free to donate. And yes, it is on a voluntary basis. Donate what you like, and donate as frequently as you like. To donate, you can actually use PayPal, Venmo, and or CashApp. Now, if you're trying to send a donation via PayPal and Venmo, just look us up over at KimHoangMDActor, KimHoangMDActor, or on CashApp, which is the $, in the same thing, $ KimHoangMDActor, KimHoangMDActor. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the main event of the evening, if you will. We have the Q&A session, the question and answer. I'm really excited. Not only do we have 7 questions here, we have a bonus question for the first time in a while that's been sent and texted to me by our own Hector. That is really cool. So, guys, you're getting a lot here today. This is great, and I'm excited about it. So, without any further delay, let's go ahead and hit this thing and hit the ground running with question number 1. Kim, do you play any musical instruments? Mary from Duluth, Minnesota. Mary, I do not play any musical instruments. I kind of dab a little bit on the guitar, but I'm not really good at it. I just kind of strum it and so forth. But I wouldn't say that I'm good enough to play any Eric Clapton music. So that's out of the question. True fact, though, back in the days of middle school, or for some that just don't know what middle school is, like junior high, 6th through 8th grade, I actually took orchestra as, a class. And for 2 years, I played the clarinet. 1 year, I played the trombone. And that's a true story. Do I miss it? Yeah, I do miss it, believe it or not. It was a good time for what it was worth. And, honestly, being in music really opened my mind a little bit. And it was great. To me, it was an easy A, because all it was about putting in the effort, you know what I mean? So it was pretty cool. But yeah. That's just the extent of my musical expertise as you can get. Question number 2. Kim, Beetlejuice will be debuting on September the 6th. True facts. Any chance that you will watch this movie, and how well do you think this movie will do? Chase from Brownsburg, Indiana. Chase, that's a very good question. Yes, I will see Beetlejuice, and the reason why is because I saw the movie when it first came out 36 years ago, and I was a very big fan. of the movie. And a lot of people were wondering why we didn't have like a sequel, like maybe like 2 years or 5 years later. And it's like 36 years later, we finally got the, the sequel. And, I just feel like this, better now than never, number one. Number two, if Beetlejuice was the first movie and it was comically funny and it was good, I can only imagine that the second one, Beetlejuice, will be far more superior than the first one, I believe. I do also believe that when it will come out on the theaters, I think it will be a box office smash. I think it will be number one for a little while. And for all the people of the old school, and I'm going to say it right now, like in my generation, we've been waiting for this, man. So I'm definitely down to see Beetlejuice. It'll be amazing. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, we have Michael Keaton playing Beetlejuice again. We have we also have Winona Ryder playing Lydia again. We also have Catherine O'Hara, who actually played Lydia's mom, or stepmom, I should say. I'm sorry. And it's going to be great. Jenna Ortega playing Lydia's daughter, so I'm really excited to see how that goes. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Question number 3. Kim, how well do you think that the Baltimore Ravens will do this season in the NFL? Diana from Jessup, Maryland. Hey, I know Jessup. I used to work in Jessup. Diana, I think that we're going to do very well this year. I have no doubts that the Baltimore Ravens will go to the postseason. My hope of hopes as a fan is that we will get to the AFC Championship and we'll win it. And that we will solidify our ticket to go to the Super Bowl. Because we definitely had it in our grasp last season, and we basically threw that away. I mean, it's just like we had on paper it looked good coming in. You know what I mean? Because we were number one in the AFC. The AFC Championship goes through Baltimore. We were at home all this time. We had, because we were number one, we had the first round bye. It was incredible, man. And it just didn't, it fizzled out. This time I'm hoping that we will do it. We've gotten this far. Now it's time to, to punch the ticket. And we need to punch our ticket to ride for sure. Question number 4. Kim, can you give me any kind of advice when it comes to cooking? Bruno from Carter Lake, Nebraska. Bruno, honestly, cooking anything in general just requires lots of imagination. And if you can imagine it, it possibly can happen. Most importantly, it's all about the seasoning, and it's all about, putting stuff that makes sense. If you're going to make a stir fry, obviously you want to put like some vegetables, like maybe like broccoli and, maybe like garlic, ginger, and chilies. Maybe a little bit of like, some carrots and some snap peas. You don't want to go way overboard, you know what I mean? And you don't want to do things that, you want to add stuff just to add it, and it just turns out bad. So I would definitely say flavoring, and seasoning, that's the key. Putting stuff together, that makes sense, so it doesn't feel like, it's terrible. And that's about it. Because, like, honestly, you wouldn't make a dish of like, like some kind of stir fry and then add Nutella on it. That's just awful. That's not good. So just think about it. It's a lot of things going on there. So there it is. Question number 5. Kim, when it comes to coffee, can you tell the difference in terms of, the taste of instant versus grounded up coffee, and what is your favorite type of coffee? Oh, that comes from Larissa from Stowe, Vermont. Larissa, well, let's just put it this way. Instant coffee versus grounded up coffee is going to be coffee because they're both made from coffee beans, right? The difference is just like how they make it and how they prepare it, because grounded up is a little bit more, it takes a little bit longer, and there's a lot of process that goes along with it to give you that bold and robust taste, you know what I mean? And you can definitely tell the difference. Grounded up coffee to me is a little bit more superior than instant coffee, but I don't really smash on instant coffee, because if you don't have a coffee machine, you gotta have your coffee somehow. So that's how that goes. And that's just how we do it. So for me, grounded up coffee, numero uno. Question number 6. Kim, how's the new job going? The new day job? And can you give specifics on it? Steve from El Reno, Oklahoma. Steve, it's actually pretty good. I can't divulge too much information on it. If you know me on social media, I actually have mentioned it, but I'm not going to mention it here. I will say that it is a lot better than my previous job. I will say that so far, by this episode, I'm working on my 3rd week now. It's like a week number 3 into the job. I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning a lot. First time that in a job that I have my own office. Everybody treats me with a lot of love and respect, especially people that are like, piloting the ship, if you will, the captain of the ship. So, in comparison, I feel really good. So far, I don't feel stressed out. There's no anxiety or frustrations. I'm not in a position where when I wake up every morning, I don't complain about, oh man, do I have to go to work today? Why? I'd rather stay home. Me, it's like, all right, let's go to work. Let's get it going. Let's get it crack-a-lacking. And yeah, it's great. So I love where I work at right now. The job is awesome. It is incredible. And yeah, I have nothing to say other than the fact that I feel truly blessed. I'm very fortunate. And, I'm in a good position where I'm doing well here. At least I think I'm doing well here right now. And I hope that that's going to continue. That it's, we're going to have this job for the long haul, and we're going to stay. So there it is. Question number 7, which is, again, this is the end of the Q&A with this one. But then we have the bonus question. So question number 7 is, Kim, when I train in the martial arts, I feel like my technique and execution of the form is wrong. Any advice? Shannon from Cary, North Carolina. Shannon, the best thing I could tell you is that, number 1, it takes a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. So, number 1, be consistent in your training. Number 2, when it comes to the technique, go slow, execute the technique a little bit slow and try to get as full extension as you can. Make sure, like if with the kick, straighten out the leg, make sure that, the knee's not bent, that it's fully extended, and make sure that, if it's a round kick, that your toes are pointed, or you're pointing your toes up if you're doing a front kick. Turn your foot over if it's a side kick, kicking with the heel, and et cetera, et cetera. And if it's just form in general, like stances, make sure that you're working your body positioning of the stance and make sure that the stance is deep. Make sure that each block is coming from the shoulder, like if it's a middle block, or, if it's, an up block coming from below shooting up, move it with the shoulder, you know what I mean? And it takes a lot of time. Work with your instructors to make sure that, it's definitely where it's at. And if they're okay with it, that's good. If they say something, they'll let you know. So just do the best that you can. Never give up. Work hard, and you'll be able to make that slam dunk. So there it is. Now, point of the show where now I get to answer a bonus question from Mr. Hector, and Mr. Hector asks, Kim, you've been working as an actor and a stunt guy in local film. Obviously, I've heard a lot of stories about accidents happening. What is your take on it, and so forth? Hector, my man, yes, accidents do happen on the set, and it is inevitable. It's one of those things where, if you have gone, so many days without an accident happening, just be prepared that the possibility of the accident may happen. Now, if you dodged that bullet, congratulations, and that's what you really should be aiming for. But if it does happen, it happens. It does happen on the set. It is kind of common, like drinking water. And I've seen a lot of accidents happen. People getting clocked in the face when they're doing a fight scene, and sometimes it causes where, an accidental black eye was made, or somebody gets punched in the face and they get a bloody nose, broken jaws, somebody knocking out teeth, or, people hitting another person with a weapon for a weapon fight scene by accident, even accidents with injuries that resulted in them going to the hospital. If and when that happens, the best thing that you can do is just try to be calm and just try to do the best that you can to kind of take care of the situation. There's no need to freak out. You know what to do and so forth in terms of how to deal with those accidents. Do we want accidents to happen on the set? No, we don't. We do not want to have accidents happening on the set. That's the last thing that we want. But if it does, just remain calm and do what's necessary. And hopefully, if you take it to a point where you're going to reshoot later on for a later date, just make sure that you learned the lesson of what happened the first time so that it doesn't happen again this time. So that's all I have to say. And by that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now done with the Q&A form, and we are now done with this episode, and it has been an incredible moment. It has been fun. It has been awesome. And the fact that I got a chance to be here with you guys has been incredible. Give a shout out to Prototype Studio here in Wheaton, Maryland, for housing us for today, for actually giving us a chance to work in their establishment. It's been great. We love it. Shout out to Bob that actually works here at the Prototype Studio. We appreciate that guy. He's awesome. So let's go ahead and do the closing notes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a lot of social media. You can find us on Facebook. Go ahead and find us on Facebook under the search box, and then type in the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. You'll find us there. Go ahead and follow us. We really would appreciate that. We are also on Instagram and on Twitter. Twitter, now known as X, and you can find us there. And on Instagram, find us there both on those social medias under the @ symbol at TKHPC Experience, all in one word. Once again, at TKHPC Experience, all in one word. No uppercase lettering, no additional spacing, just all together. Follow me and I'll follow you back. We are on a lot of podcasting platforms. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and Audible, which is now the podcasting platform that is also an audiobook platform powered by Amazon. If you want to sign up for temporary 7-day trial membership, you can do so by just going to audible.com Just look them up under Google, and they'll lead you to it. You get like a 7-day free trial membership, and if you decide it and you like it and you want to keep it, it's going to be $15 a month for a membership with Audible. If you want to be a special guest on our show, if you want to be a special guest host, if you have any constructive criticism, and or if you want to go ahead and send a question over to our Q&A part of our show, feel free to email us. Email us at thekimhoangpodcastexperience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, go ahead and type in the subject, and then in the email, the body of the email, write us, email us, type in whatever you need to type, and then send it. And then when you do send it, and if I receive it, I will read it, and I'll get back to you within a day or two, because I do like that type of old school correspondence. You know what I mean? So that's it. That is everything. We really do appreciate that. It's been fun. I love doing these things, and I love making content for you guys. And the only thing I can say is, guys, be safe out there and love one another. You know what I mean? Treat each other with love and respect. We don't want you to make any bad choices in life that will possibly land you in that pine box and you get buried 6 feet under. We don't want that. We want you to do the best things in life and live life, love life, and smile about it, because at the end of the day, you deserve it. And we want you to be happy. We want you to be in a good place. And anybody else that tells you otherwise, that they don't want you in a good place, or they think that you're going to fail, tell them to kiss your butt. Let them know that, it's just not worth my time to listen to your negativity. I'm here for the positivity. I'm here to make it work, and I'm just here to enjoy life. You know what I mean? So that's it. And that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, we're going to do it again. We're going to make more content, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Guys, enjoy yourself. Be safe out there. Do what you do, and just live life to the fullest. You know what I mean? So for the one time, here in the Prototype Studio in Wheaton, Maryland, this is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation. Just rocked out another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. We thank you so much for your love and support. We appreciate it. Please like our podcast and subscribe to it on all of those podcasting platforms. And please spread the word about our podcast either on social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, on the Snapchat, on the TikTok, whatever, or tell your friends and your coworkers and everything face to face, because we just need to build up that brand awareness. You know what I mean? So guys, be well, be safe. Let's do it again real soon. God bless you all. I love you, and take care. All right, so we are throwing the ninja smoke and we are out of here. Peace.